Hi everybody, I'm Kai Jones here with WJG Sports, and this here is CPA Cox football coach Steve Brooks. And we're gonna talk a little bit about these Friday matchups coming up. We have Cleveland and Conley, and then of course Rosewood and South Creek. Of course, Coach, you had a unique opportunity of playing against Conley. You hosted Cleveland here at your jamboree this summer, and also you played against Rosewood this season. So I think it'll be unique to kind of see what you see about this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's three really good teams. Conley being in our conference, and we know how they really dominated our conference. They ended up winning it, and they have a really good football team. And then obviously Rosewood had an unbelievable season. After they lost to us at the beginning of the year, they've reeled off now 10 or 11 games, and conference champions back-to-back winning season, or well, not back-to-back, but a 10-win season or more, and then just an incredible year. And then Cleveland, we hear so much about them being right down the road. I mean, incredible coaching staff, just great players, great community that really supports that football program, and they're no stranger to this time of the year of playoffs, and I think it's going to be some great matchups for sure.
And of course, Coach, you guys had a really good season this year, so congratulations on all your success this year as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we felt like we had a really good year. We're excited about where our program is. We're excited about where it can go. Since when I first got here, we went to the playoffs 3 straight years, and then we had a couple years where we didn't make it, and then now we've been back-to-back years, and we really like where we're projecting, where we're going, and it's just going to continue to be a team effort between our school and our players and our coaches to keep this thing rolling.
All right, Coach. Now, of course, we're going to get into a little bit of film here. You, of course, played Conley. You played Cleveland. So, what do you think can really what immediately stands out about Cleveland on film to you?
Well, they got an outstanding. They have an outstanding coaching staff. Number one, and they're always well prepared. They play very physical. They play very hard. They're very similar to DH Conley. They from everything that I understand about them, they capitalize on mistakes, and they obviously got a really, really good running back that does a whole lot of different things for them. And then on defense, again, they're very physical and athletic. So those are the things that stand out to me right away.
Right. So when you look at this team, how do you think Cleveland will be able to exploit Conley, just, with the knowledge that you have of both of them?
Well, I think if Cleveland can find a way to pick up all their protections in the pass game, Conley likes to blitz. They got a great size on the defensive line front. So if they can, move their big boys up front and they can pick up their blitzes in the pass game with their spread type offense, I think if they can get into the secondary, they'll be, that would be hard to beat for sure. But that's one thing that makes Conley very, very difficult to scheme against, is they bring blitzes from a whole lot of different places, and they are athletic and big up front and very, very physical. So it's going to be a game where, as an offensive lineman, you're probably going to enjoy it if you like to block. If you don't like to block and pick up protection, you're going to have a long night.
Right. So when you look at Conley, what are some things that they can do to kind of exploit Cleveland and what they do?
Well, the thing with Conley is, a lot of they got a lot of grief for their early season record, but people didn't realize until you go back and look at who they played. They played some outstanding talent, and I think
Scotland, Rocky Mount,
Northeastern,
Southern Nash.
So they didn't play any cupcakes, and it did everything to prepare them for how tough our conference is. But what I think you saw from film early on with Conley as they got into conference, all the pieces came together. They do a great job of. Coach Connor has whoever the coach is upstairs. They do a great job of communicating and being able to check and to plays that where you're not going to have defenders. They do a great job of running and stemming routes. Their receivers run as good a routes as high school kids I've ever seen. I mean, they'll put their toe in the ground. They'll flinch their neck like they're going one way, then they break it off another, and they're so good at it. And I even told their coach as a compliment when we played him, I said, "You're almost robotic," because the way your kids play. I mean, it's one of those aggravating things where they're just so perfect at a lot of things, and I think they took that early season schedule and really defined what they wanted to do offensively and defensively, and that's the thing. If they want to exploit Cleveland, if Cleveland falls asleep, if they don't do their job. I'm not trying to give you coach cliches here. I'm just being honest with you. It's one of those things where Conley will lull you to sleep. They'll throw screens, and then they're going to hit you with the big jailbreak screen because you're going to fly up. So literally Cleveland's got to do what Cleveland's done all year. It's got to play solid defense. It's got to keep everything in front of them. And, the game should come down to the fourth quarter.
Right, now as we're watching this game, of course, playing in the mud, how do you feel like, it's supposed to rain on Friday. How do you feel like the forecast could affect either team in either way?
Well, both teams played in it Friday night.
Right.
Both teams or maybe not Conley and Rose because I think they did play Thursday night.
Right.
But, you look at Cleveland's uniforms, they played in a mud game. So, it didn't affect them whatsoever. Maybe a play here or there. But, they know how to do it, and Conley's played in these big enough games before that the weather, they're so well coached, the weather's not going to affect either game or either team. You hate it, as a fan or as coaches that want to go see games and good high school games. You hate it as a fan because, you want the teams to have the best footing and because you want to see a good game, and I hate it, kids that are seniors that don't get to do this again. I would hate for the field conditions to come down between going on to the third round and practicing at Thanksgiving and not. But I think both teams are too well coached and have played in too many different situations like this. Heck, I think Conley the last 2 years, they've tried to open up with Northeastern and it always is a rain game. I think even this year, I think they played a quarter before they had to go back the next day and play again on a wet field. So I really don't think that field conditions is going to determine who wins this game.
Of course, flipping to the next game, Rosewood and South Creek. You're going to actually be at this game
right.
With WGBR, their game of the week on the radio. Of course, you can catch that on 98.3 and on GoldsboroDailyNews.com. But Coach, when you look at this Rosewood team, how do you think that they have kind of changed from that first game? Do you think that maybe they're still the same, but maybe they have been able to execute a little bit better over the year?
I think they're still the same team. I think they're again well coached. They got a great fan base, and they're hardworking kids. I mean, there's nothing. That game really probably should get thrown out the window for both of us. It's a rivalry game. It's the first game of the year. There's all kind of mistakes made here or there, and then unfortunately, you make a mistake here or there, it could cost you a ball game. But I don't see any difference. I did a radio game of them versus North Duplin, and then obviously I'm going to get to do radio versus them tonight. I'm good friends with their coaching staff. I don't see anything different in them, and then watching them here on film. They're still a physical football team. They still are well balanced. They still use a lot of motion and try to pull you one way and go back the other. I think it's just a really, really good football team that is fundamentally sound, that they really don't make a whole lot of mistakes.
One of the things that, I kind of question too is, it looks like they've kind of gone a different way with their offensive lineman this year. At the beginning of the season, they tried to start out more of a big and physical offensive line, but now it seems like they've kind of gotten a little bit smaller. How do you think that has also affected them this year?
Well, it probably allows Josh to do more things offensively. You got linemen that can get out and run in space and not just kind of, try to run people over. I mean, they're running people over, but they're running people over in space, and that kind of goes to the type of backs and the slot guys that they're using with their jet sweeps, and they're trying to get outside on the sweeps, but also the RPOs that Coach Smith loves to call. It allows them linemen to, the screen game to get downfield, be physical, and it probably fits them a little bit better at what they're trying to do offensively, because that's they want to play fast, they want to be physical, but they want to be able to get out and outrun people. So it probably fits Coach Smith's offense a little bit better.
Right. How do you think, South Creek, they have a big-time running back, averaging about 200 yards every game. Of course, we have a little bit of video right up here on the board with Princeton and Rosewood. How do you think that they will be able to slow it down? What do you think the strength of their defense. And, how do you think their defense will be able to react to that?
Well, I mean, I don't know a lot about South Creek, just what I've watched on film, and yeah, they do have a big physical back that does a lot of great things for them. But the thing with Rosewood is, they've seen, North Duplin, they saw physical running backs, and they found a way to overcome. Princeton, they saw, probably, I think there's 3 running backs and a quarterbacks in that offense that are very physical runners, and they were finding a way to overcome. And I know the bye week, they probably took some time to watch, probably both teams that they possibly could play, and they have they'll be schemed up and they'll have a great idea. But that's the thing with who Rosewood's played late in the year, running back wise, and then obviously open with us with our running back. They've played some of the most physical running backs they're probably seen all year, and they've done a really great job of stopping the run. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think it's going to come down to who makes more plays and who doesn't make mistakes. That's usually what happens in the second round.
Right. How do you think a bye is going to affect them, going into this week? I mean, I know a lot of times football coaches are very routine and believe in a lot of rhythm.
Well, and I struggled with that question last year when we talked about it on the radio. And how would you handle, a bye week going into playoffs? You kind of want to ride that momentum. But I would probably think that Coach Britt has used last week to get healthy. They played a very physical North Duplin game that went down to late in the fourth quarter, and they played a very physical game against Princeton. So he probably took a lot of time to go back, and I know those guys doing fundamentals, they probably took 3, 4, 5 days to really harp on their fundamentals, get healthy, not beat up on each other. And, I would think probably the open week for them probably was probably a good thing.
Right. Of course, we're not going to talk too much about Princeton, but you and Travis Gaster, of course, good friends.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that offense? What do you think the hard part of preparing for an offense like that? 1 week, that single wing offense.
You just can't do it. You can't. There's no way. It's hard enough to get your kids to, if you play a 2x2 shotgun team that we are, to go in and run the scout team. Like the cards you see. And it's nearly impossible to ask your scout kids that don't see that they don't watch that on offense on YouTube. They don't watch that on Saturdays. They don't watch it on Sundays, and it's just too hard to duplicate. I mean, and that's one thing that makes them so great at what they do is, they're not only are they physical and they hit you in the mouth, but trying to prepare for it, trying to have an idea of how to stop it. And then, you might practice it all week and think, okay, well, I've got a handle on it because my scout team's done okay. But then you play at full speed and realize the efficiency and the way it goes, and it's just too hard to duplicate.
Right. Coach, I appreciate you joining me to talk about these playoff matchups. We, of course, can call it the Brooksing the Huddle.
Sounds good.
As long as, we have teams available, hopefully we can do this next week. You are one of the best coaches when it comes to media.
I try to be.
You got the radio right now. You got your own show right here.
Find something to do when they get rid of me as coaching. Have a backup plan.
Right. All right, Coach. I appreciate you joining us.
Hey, great platform right here. Make sure you follow these guys. They do an outstanding job, not only covering our county, but all the local surrounding counties. The best thing about these guys is they're promoting the kids. It's not about us coaches. It's never been about us coaches. But the great thing about them is they are promoting the kids in this area to push what they're doing on the field, but also push what they're doing in the classroom. And you guys' platform is completely awesome, and I will always support you guys.
Appreciate you, Coach. We'll be back with you next week.